next question will start with Mr. Atkinson. And Riverside is a different city than it was decades ago. It's now a city that is 49% Latin, 8% African American. It's a majority minority city. How would you, if elected, ensure that equal opportunity is available to everyone? And reflecting on your time on the city council, in what way did you pursue and push for that goal?
Well, I would say one of the first things that I did, I was on the city council, and I recall it in a letter dated June 4th, 2001, where I had a series of goals on the council, and one of them was to have each board and commission represented by a member of each ward. And that's the same thing you see going through the school district now. Well, I started the initiation on that and eventually became part of the charter as part of the charter amendment. If you look at diversity in the city, I think there needs to be equal participation for all. I don't like the word diversity. I'd rather use the word inclusive, because if you look at diversity, it means to divide. So, but you know,
how would you effectuate that?
Yeah. Well, if you look at, I live it. You know, one of the things they'd asked me that question 4 months ago in one of the debate, and it was a hard question to answer because I don't see color. And a lot of people don't see color in the city of Riverside. But if you look at my firm, it reflects the community we have. If you walk around there, it reflects those statistics that you're talking about. So I live it, and I think that's, if you look at the city and any other business, it should reflect the community it is. And if it doesn't, then that's the litmus test to ask, why doesn't it reflect the community that we are?
Thank you. Mr. Bailey.
As I mentioned before, the theme of the campaign is We Are Better Together. And I've lived that for the last 9 months, knocking on doors with Team Bailey members in every ward and almost every neighborhood. And we will continue to do that until November 6th. I will also continue walks with the mayor. The mayor has been very vigorously connecting himself to the community by going out and walking in various areas and connecting to residents where they live. And Mayor's Night Out is another way to connect with communities at the schools and get their input. And I would continue. I would actually create Bike with the Mayor and nights in the park with the mayor, as I have 2 little girls that enjoy spending time in the park. So getting out of City Hall into the neighborhoods is how I would connect with the diversity that we have.
And since you've been on City Council, how have you effectuated that goal?
Well, every day that I'm in the classroom with a class that is 80%, non-Caucasian, and I've in the Army, one of the most diverse organizations, or the 2 most diverse organizations I've spent time with and led in have been in the Army and in the school district.
But what about while you've been on the council? I understand that you've lived it through poly or through the military, but while you've been over the last 5 years.
So going to meetings at Latino Network, and going to meetings at the group, and investing in, I've given money to the leadership academies, and spent time at leadership academies, whether it's the Greer Leadership Academy, speaking to them, and or giving money to young leaders. I think it's the Latino Network that does a summer program, summer camp, to create young leaders for the Hispanic population here in Riverside.
I want to continue on this theme, if I may. I'm going to digress a bit, and I'll start with you, Ed Adkison. As you've walked the wards, I know last night you attended a forum that focused, I believe, on Latino issues. What are the issues that you perceive are important to the Latino community in the city of Riverside?
Well, one of them is actually I walked the east side, where there's been a few recent murders this year, and trying to get a touch and feel of what's going on in that community. And when you talk to people, there seems to be some, especially some of the older people that have prejudices there. I don't think when you talk to them that you're going to change their view with each other, but I think you can reach the youth. And one of the things when you're talking to some of the people in the area is to increase the youth programs in the area, and they've done that a little bit, but maybe do it a little more aggressively. There's a lot of kids out there that don't have self-confidence, that you can go and bring them into these youth programs, build their confidence, and maybe once they have confidence, they won't want to get involved in some of those gangs.
Rusty?
You can't have a great city unless you have a safe city. I think safety, number one, in your neighborhood, feeling confident about being able to walk home from school and get to your house safely is very important to individuals as a Pauley High School teacher, and the tragic death of Loren Simmons reminded us this last year. Education, obviously, access to education, and educational attainment. If you look at the education gap in those populations, it's unacceptable. And so making sure that we provide access to education, and we talked about internships, career pathways for each student in our school, as well as access to employment. When I've been out there, that's been an issue for some of the residents as well in those neighborhoods.
I believe there's a proposal to link the east side with Casablanca, which traditionally is the school districts. There's been a few rivalries there. What would you do, presuming that moves forward, to ease that process? We'll start with Mr. Bailey.
I have a good relationship with the school district. They've called me and talked to me about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and they've had, I don't know, probably 5, 6, maybe more meetings to gather input, both at the school board and beyond the school board. And so I would encourage them to continue to work with the community to figure out what the best alignment is and the best representation model is for our schools.
Ed Adkison?
Well, you know, when I dealt with the county on land development projects, they had what they called a community of interest, and those community of interest had something in common, and that's why they called them community of interest. So I think what they're trying to do is come up with a plan to include the community of interest. So I don't have a problem with what they're proposing to do. In fact, it probably makes a lot of sense.
But how will you ease the process? Because the suggestion has been there's a little tension there.
Well, that's a school board issue, but I can go down and and talk to them. But to answer your question, I don't know how you would ease the process. I'm not quite sure the conflicts have escalated to that point. They're having public debate and public dialogue on it. You've got a school board that's fairly intelligent on how to deal with those issues, and I think they'll come up with a conclusion. And as time goes on, life will go on.